Good day and welcome to the session on value-added transportation concepts. By the end of this session, you should be able to understand the value-added transportation concept. When we say value-added, it means the extra quality or the extra benefit that is provided or accorded something that is given at a point in time. So let's say if you have raw materials and you convert it to finished goods, you have added value to the raw materials and we are now having a finished product. So when we say added value, it means an improvement upon a previously held item to satisfy a given need. So in terms of transportation, it should be noted that transportation also facilitates the adding of value till goods finally get to customers. In the sense that, let's take a typical supply chain. We have three flows in the supply chain. We have product flow, we have information flow, and we have cash flows. If you take a simple supply chain that is linear in nature, that is forward looking, we have three flows such that product flow downwards, in the sense that raw materials are made available by suppliers to the focal firm who convert the raw materials into finished products and make them available to customers. So there's a downward flow of product. Then the cash flows upwards from the customer to the focal firm to the supplier. Then information flows within a typical supply chain that is both upwards and downwards, and it is characterized or they accompany the product as well as cash flows in a supply chain. But it should be, in contrast to a linear or a forward-looking supply chain, we have a circular-looking supply chain where, as compared to the linear one where goods are only made available to customers, the circular supply chain or the supply chain that is circular in nature retrieves used products from customers backwards into the chain, such that in the linear supply chain, the arrow is characterized by this arrow where products moved to customers and you don't have regard for how the products are managed at the end of their useful life. But the circular supply chain, after the goods are made available to the customers, then you put in steps to bring back used products back into the supply chain, which is characterized by the reverse flow, or what we call reverse logistics. That is the reverse flow of materials, used products from customers into the supply chain for value to be captured. But deviating from that, it should be noted that a typical supply chain adds value to each node or each activity that takes place in the node. So these three actors constitute a typical supply chain. So in a basic supply chain, we have a supplier, we have a manufacturer, and we have a customer. The supplier is considered the upstream because they are considering this to be the focal firm, suppliers are found above the focal firm, so they are classified to be upstream. And then because the customers are downwards of the focal firm, we consider customers too as downstream. And in the supply chain, suppliers make available raw materials to manufacturers, and the movement of raw materials to manufacturers is facilitated by transportation. So raw materials move from suppliers to manufacturers, and in that instance, there is a value addition that is expected to take place at the manufacturer's side. Even at the supplier side, they extract the raw materials and put it in an acceptable form before transporting it to the manufacturer. And it should be noted that movement of raw materials from the supplier's end to the manufacturer's end, the activities that relate or are characterized by that movement of raw materials into the manufacturing firm's premises is what we term as inbound logistics. So the activities that facilitate the movement from here to here helps to add value and should ensure that the transportation means or the inbound logistics activities are ensuring that the raw materials moving from the supplier side are in the expected form that the manufacturer wants them to be. So in essence, inbound logistics activities or inbound transportation activities have to ensure that the raw materials are in that acceptable form. So after they get to the manufacturer, they convert their raw materials into finished goods, and they have to make them available from their site to the customer. And transportation is also what facilitates this movement from the manufacturer's premises to the customer. And the movement of finished products from the manufacturer's end to the customer is what we term as outbound transportation or outbound logistics activity. So they take input from suppliers, convert them, and then have an output which is made available to customers for consumption to satisfy a given need. And it should be noted that, as was mentioned earlier, if the supply chain is more committed to reverse logistics, after customers have used the products, they should facilitate the movement of used products back into the supply chain to realize value through recycling or proper disposal or refurbishing or other value-added activities that the supply chain will perform on the products. So in this session, you've basically learned about the value-added transportation concept and what it means and its relevance. Thank you.